In the end, this company didn't get back on the quotation for entire 2 months. And the amount, 30 million Japanese yen. The budget for the city was already out of budget by July. The roof was gone. So I am back. I am now finally in my own house. The newly renovated Machiya that took 1.5 years after I officially bought the house. The renovation itself took a bit longer than I expected from the summer of 2021 until April, the middle of April of 2022. Anyway, the whole family, we are all here. We've moved to this new neighborhood. I would really love to show you how the looks like right now and do like a before after video as I go through everything in detail, but it's just too messy. I don't feel like it's in a condition that I feel comfortable to share with you, because there's just too many things around. As you can see in the background, there are still what is that? The panda, the symbol of moving in Japan. The company called Sakai, that's one of the major moving company. So there are still a lot of boxes around the house. This is actually a video that I would like to share in detail from the beginning that I bought this house, and even before I bought the house. And then into the process of thinking of a renovation plan, finding a contractor, finding an architect, trying to apply for subsidies. And then after the renovation officially starts, what are the procedure, what are the steps, what I have experienced. There are definitely some frustrations, even for myself and my family. There's no problem communicating in Japanese or whatsoever. Even in that situation, there are a lot of things that in the end we weren't so satisfied. But again, this is a beautiful house. I hope that the condition of the house lasts as long as it can. In fact, even after living here for a few weeks, there are already so many scratches, so many spills of milk, drink, whatever all around the place. I'm kind of already over it. So anyway, I hope this video becomes like a sort of a guide that covers everything that you would need to know, from buying to renovating to actually moving to a Kyoto Machiya house or even other kominka traditional Japanese houses. So here we go. So the beginning, December 2020, this is when I finally, that's when I decided that I'm going to buy the house that I'm currently in. To be honest, as a normal family earning average income, we're not expecting to buy something too expensive and not too in the middle of the city. So our budget was about 40 million Japanese yen for the property, including the renovation. And so we're trying to find something that's about 20 million before renovation, and then including the renovation, maximum of about 20 million, that it could come to something under 40 million. Again, so we were trying to find something under 20 million yen, and in the end, this house, it matches all the points. It's big enough for a small family. And then I have the first video on my YouTube channel explained in detail why I bought this house, but basically I decided to buy this within 1 week, and then that's the start of the whole journey of this Machiya renovation. So the first months after I bought this Machiya, that's January 2021, And I think for most people, this would be the time where you spend most of the time thinking of how you're going to renovate the Machiya. And then the very important point, if you're trying to use like a housing loan, is that you already find like a contractor, architect that you feel like working with, so that when you're trying to apply for the loan, that they can provide you like a rough quotation as quickly as soon as possible, so that when like a cheaper property shows up, a more competitive property that shows up, that the contractor will be able to provide everything you need to get the housing loan through, so you don't lose the chance compared to other cash buyers, where obviously the real estate agents or companies would prefer more than like somebody who needs to use a housing loan. So finding a contractor or architect to work with in the beginning obviously is the most important, and not necessarily finding somebody who you like a friend is the best option, because for me, I decided to work with somebody I knew from my previous company, and in the end, I think the result is nice, but the process of the renovation, I really regret a lot of it. So working with a friend is not the best option, I would say. Maybe find somebody professional, a referral from a professional, and who is not so closely related to you, so that it's easier for you to communicate as a client rather than a friend. Trying to talk as a friend would be at times more difficult rather than trying to talk as a client. So, and then the other thing that I think would be very helpful is finding somebody who could really project manage well, has the appropriate tool that shows you the budget, the renovation points, the area, in like a visual way from the beginning to the end, so that whenever you try to change something, we still have the mutual understanding from this point to this point to the end, and not that everything is just communicated through phone or email, that it gets impossible to track who said that and what's agreed. And that's kind of what happened with our renovation, that there are a lot of small things that I probably said I agree. I don't even remember, and that's the point. I don't remember, but there was no record, and in the end, there are some things that I apparently agreed to that my wife didn't like, and etc. It just ends up kind of messy, and that it's something that I would definitely encourage you to think about from the beginning. If the contractor has some tools or some kind of program that tracks everything nicely, or even shows you the renovation visually, 3D, whatever, so that you know what's being agreed, what's the color, what's the budget that's going to be spending on this point, the material used. All this small stuff is going to be very they're going to give you a big headache if you don't get this down as early as possible. So second month, the February 2021, it's the second month of the renovation, but it's also the birth of my second daughter, Lina. She was born in February 1st in 2021. So as you would imagine, that was a very, very busy time, and there wasn't that much time that I could spend on this house and the renovation plan, but there are still some progress. So personally, I feel that the second month of thinking of the renovation plan, this is a good time to really visit a lot of renovated machiya or traditional Japanese houses, to give you inspiration of how you want to renovate your own. It is a good time to also visit showrooms for the utilities, the washrooms, kitchen, toilets. For standard Japanese homeowners, that's what they use. The general Toto, Lixel, Takara Standard. These are the standard companies for kitchen, toilets, and so on. Also, I have another video showing the before and after renovation plan with like a walkthrough of how the Machiya house was back in February 2021. So March 2021, this is the time when you're finalizing your renovation plan, and this is also a good time to start preparing for the documents for subsidies of renovating your Machiya. And then I also have a complete video of the subsidies that you could use. Please go take a look if you're interested. It's 30 minutes long, so lots of information there. So basically, for our house, we only tried to apply to 3 of the subsidies in the beginning. One is for the earthquake resistance and fireproof. The other one is for a subsidy for being a vacant house, akiya. This house was vacant for about 10-20 years before. And the third one is Kyomachiya Joyaku. In English, I think it's like different zones, regions of in Kyoto City, that there are a lot of machiya concentrated in those areas, that they designated these areas to be like a Kyomachiya preservation zone, that the Kyoto City would subsidize a certain amount for mostly the facade, the outside of the house, but it also includes the inside. For example, like the electrical wiring and the water pipes and so on. And in the end, we gave up on 2 of them, the earthquake and the akiya one. The reason being, the earthquake one was just they cut down the budget, so the amount was too low for me to want to spend the time to get the subsidy. It was maximum only about 3,000 USD, even if you get like a full 100% amount. And then the akiya one, there are some criteria that we didn't meet, and it was very small anyway, so we gave up on that. And the most useful one that I think would be the third one that I mentioned, which is the different machiya preservation area. That would give you, I think, maximum of 2 million Japanese yen. But I think the subsidized ratio percentage is about 2/3. So if you to get 2 million, you will have to spend 3 million. And that is what we used to fix our roof. We replaced everything, and that costs close to 2 million Japanese yen. So entering April 2021, this is the fourth month after the purchase. Finally, we have the documents ready for the subsidy. We have the renovation plan that's going to be submitted to contractors, komuten in Japanese, that will provide you with a quotation of how much the renovation would cost. And then, so be very careful, because you cannot start any of the renovation. The construction itself cannot start if you wish to get the subsidy. You can only start after the subsidy is approved by Kyoto City or other cities that you're in. So that make sure that you submit the subsidy documents ASAP. Usually it will take at least 3-4 weeks. It's in Japan, so you're going to have to wait for a while. And that was only for one subsidy. So if you're going to do several, that's going to be quite time consuming. I mean, you can do everything all together, but it's just going to take a lot of your time. And then coming back to getting a quotation from the contractor, this is one of the reason that I regretted asking a friend to be, well, he's an architect, of course. We decided on the renovation plan, and he asked one contractor that I kind of suggested, because it's one of the contractor that I knew their renovation back when I was in Hachisei, the real estate company that renovates Machiya. And I like their renovation, so that's what I asked the architect to do, get the quotation from this company. But that's, again, one of the big regret, that I didn't ask him to get several more, at least 2 or 3 in total, because in the end, this company didn't get back on the quotation for entire 2 months of no quotation after the renovation was submitted. So, like, thinking back, I can't even imagine how I could endure the 2 months not trying to get something done. Finding some place myself, or trying to push my friend, the architect, to really get the quotation ASAP. In the end, entering June, there was still no quotation, not even the first draft. Not even the first draft of the quotation. So I was getting kind of mad. And the architect, finally, he started to move his butt and try to get several other contractors' quotation for the renovation. And then there were 2 other companies or contractors that he asked. The first one, in the end, got back within 1 or 2 weeks, and the amount was 30 million Japanese yen. That was 1.5 times than my budget. So obviously that's out of the question. And even trying to edit the renovation proposal, it's pretty impossible to get that 30 million, that 20 million, and that just didn't work out. So we're waiting. Meanwhile, we're waiting for the second quotation from a different company, and that's the one that ended up doing the renovation of my Machiya. And even that one, the first draft ended up to be about 24 million Japanese yen, tax included, and which is still a lot higher than how much I wanted to spend. So anyway, we've gone through multiple times of discussion trying to cut things down. And then, for example, I was going to have a toilet on the second floor. You see the storage over there. There was going to be a toilet, but we remove it. Now it's a storage. It was a good idea, actually, that it's a storage now, because it's filled with stuff. If we have a toilet here, I would have no place to put some of our stuff. With 2 kids, just storage is very important. And then, for example, the floor heating we removed entirely. That was about close to 1 million Japanese yen. So my honest advice is that even in the beginning, before the renovation plan is decided, really just ask your architect if there are some areas that they feel should be downgraded, should be removed, just kept as it is. For example, we tried to move the second floor tatami room, some parts of it, to the first floor. If it was kept the same as the second floor without moving, maybe I would save a little bit on the renovation cost. So before you submit the quotation, just really try to confirm if what you're trying to achieve with the renovation, is it realistic with your budget? If it's not, just try to cut things down, downgrade on the material. Otherwise, you're going to be shocked by the first draft from different contractors. And I would really think that 1 year after, 1 year after COVID, 1 or 2 years after COVID, now the new quotation that you'll be getting now is going to be a lot more than what you would expect, hearing some experience from other people who have done the renovation 4 or 5 years ago. And then in the end, other than the floor heating, there are other things that we decided to remove uh, to get things under budget. For example, the garden, the fence, we didn't include it in the renovation plan, the renovation contract, because we decided, if we have extra money, we would just do it in the end. Uh, and then be very careful, because during this process, if the architect or the contractor, they don't explain to you in detail what are the things they cut, you're going to be surprised in the end. What happened to this thing that I thought is going to be done, but it was cut out from the renovation plan. For example, I wanted a deck facing the garden, and looking back at the renovation plan, apparently they did remove that during the process of trying to cut down the budget, but it wasn't verbally explained. And then I just thought the deck is still there until a few months after entering the renovation. Then I found out that the deck isn't even included in the plan, which is crazy because that's something I really want to have. And then in the end, we discussed, what happened to this. We eventually it was okay, but still, be careful when you try to cut down on the budget, because there would be things that maybe just quietly removed without even you noticing, and they don't even explain to you. And then I do have everything in detail. What are the costs for the materials? What are the costs for the carpenters, the kitchen, the wall, the wallpaper, the lighting, everything. Too many things. I think I'm going to have to make that separate, a different video. But eventually I'll get to it. I'm sorry that everything is just too much information, but that's something I also want to share through the video. And entering July, finally we have the quotation finalized. We are going to get things moving, and then because it took so much time to finalize for the subsidy for Kyomachiya preservation area, there are two sections. One is for the facade, for the outside roof or the exterior. The other one is for the inside. I originally wanted to do for the inside the electro wiring and the pipes, just because that there are more subsidies that could help with the outside, the facade. But for the interior, the Kyomachiya preservation zone subsidy is the only one that I could get some amount of subsidy for internal things, renovation. But they have different deadlines, different budgets. So the budget for the city for the internal, inside of the house was already out of budget by July. So I couldn't apply to that. In the end, I have to apply for the outside facade, and even that was kind of urgent, because the city they told me even for that the budget's probably going to run out in a month or two. So again, subsidy, they don't last forever. The budget is very limited. It starts every April. So if you want to apply, prepare everything before April. So we are still in July. And finally, things have started moving. One thing in the end that we had to take out from the renovation quotation was the dismantling of the inside of the Machiya. For most of the properties that you see in the market, they are not in this skeleton frame state with only the beams, pillars, and the roof. But most of the time, they would still have most of the the flooring, the walls, all the interior still attached. So you have to spend quite a good amount of money to try to get rid of everything if you want to do like a full scale renovation. And that really, for me, in the quotation that I was provided, it cost 2 million yen for this house. It's only about 80, 90 square meters in floor size, and it doesn't have that much, personal belonging, luggage, or garbage that has to be thrown out because the previous owner already threw out everything for that's included in the sales price, so I don't have to pay anything. But even that, the quotation was about 2 million to do that. And I just thought it was crazy because I have seen other quotations with a lot less than that. A lot of it is under 1 million yen. So in the end, the final amount that we decided doesn't include the dismantling of this Machiya, because I decided that I'm going to find something outside of the main contractor that I'm working with. And really, that's something that most architects, they won't recommend, just because if you find different contractors to do different jobs, if there's a problem with a renovation, who's going to take the responsibility? For example, there was a fire, whatever, it's burned down, but you have several contractors working on site, and in the end, you can't really figure out who is responsible for such happening or disaster. So fire is just an extreme example, but there are just a lot of small things that they broke that something doesn't work, and then if you have several parties in the house, it just gets difficult to manage everything. So at least for dismantling, it's quite simple because it doesn't involve, it's the very beginning of the renovation. You have a separate dismantling company to take care of everything in the house, and then it's passed on to the main contractor for the renovation. So that's, if you're going to try to ask different contractors to do different things, I guess dismantling would be the simpler one to do. So that was my decision. I found a place that could do it for around 1 million Japanese yen. And the first shock that I had was the quotation took 2 months. The second shock during the renovation for me is the dismantling. I never talked about this during the renovation in any of my videos because it's information that it's probably not a good idea to be shown publicly. If the city finds out, they will probably come and check, what's happening. But basically, the dismantling team came in. I was there in the beginning. Everything was talked through. The person in charge knew what's happening. Everything had to be taken out. Leave the roof because that's what we want to reuse. At least just the roofing part, the boards, we want to keep that because we want to keep everything under budget. And the roof tiles, please remove that and keep the parts under the roof tile. And the inside, everything, please dismantle it. And then 1 week after that, I received an email from the architect. He came and visited the house, and then he showed some pictures. The roof was gone. It was blue sky, bright, sunny, blue sky from inside the house. There was no roof. So it was like additional work they did for me. I mean, I didn't ask for it, but they took out the freaking roof that I wanted to keep, and now it's gone. And I mean, part of it, if you can be at the dismantling site every day, it would be the safest because you can check what's going on. But usually they don't recommend you to do that because it's dangerous. It's going to be a lot of dust, things going here and there, and then probably don't want anyone near the site. But that's what happened. They took out the roof that I wanted to keep. The roofing, at least, that the tiles they took, of course, but the roofing, even that was gone. So that was. I mean, I asked the company. That's because the quotation, that the cost was too high. So I am responsible for part of it for asking that company. in general, if you're going to renovate a house, it's fine. You don't need any kind of approval from the city. But if it's something that you're changing 50% or over half of the structural parts, for example, the pillar, the beams, the roof, more than half of it, if you're doing more than half of it, you have to get some sort of approval from the city. I don't know in detail because most Machiya renovation doesn't require this, but if you remove the roofing, I think it would make this Machiya a target for the city to check. And not just that, during the time that there's no roof, it was summer, it was still raining a lot. Although they have things covered, it's such a risk to not have any roof during that time. Or typhoon, there's still typhoon until like September. That to have that roof empty. So the house was roofless for about 2-3 months until November or December of 2021 that they finally got to doing the roof. So in the end, they did compensate for making the mistake. The dismantling company, Kaitai Kyosha in Japanese. So, but they didn't compensate everything, and for the main contractor to add new roof, which you see now, the beautiful. Actually, it's a regret I have, but I am satisfied with the new roof. They're beautiful, they're pretty, they're clean. So I had to pay extra for it, but in the end, I'm fine. That's fine. That's it about the roof and the dismantling company. And that was, I think, the biggest shock. Really hurts my heart during the renovation, but good thing that was the biggest one. There wasn't anything as bad afterwards. And then I was going to talk through everything until the end of the renovation in this video, but it's already getting very, very long, so I'll leave that to the second part. Please stay tuned for this, and I'm going to show a complete tour of this Machiya before after in detail, and I think it's going to be quite long as well, but I try to provide as much as information from the experience that from renovating this Machiya. That's it. It's been busy after I moved. Still haven't got to doing a lot of things that I wanted to do, but thank you for watching, and I'll see you again.